Everybody? Okay. Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central. And today is still Friday. Yeah, just for a little while longer over here on the East Coast. Friday, June 15th, 2018. And I'm back again with my posse, my gal pals, Beezy Weaver and Lisa Flamino Rush. And I'm hoping that what I was about to say, we decided we better start recording. I hope this is along the same lines as what we were talking about, because now all of a sudden my mind is like, okay, wait a minute, did that fit or not?
Well,
I told you, I'm losing my mind.
We can go to the other thing if it's somehow a diversion. Or maybe it's even better, we'll go that way.
Okay, cool.
Let's hear it.
Well, we were talking about how we hold things. Okay, so there are a lot of folks noticing, whether they realize what they're doing or not, they're noticing other folks having issues and, melting down about this, that, or the other, or whatever. And I was sharing with my friend today that, all of those stories that go into, that make up who and what we think we are, if they're held in a particular way, so I said, okay, so I'll use myself, Kathy. I just used her name. Well, that's okay. Nobody knows who I'm talking about. My friend, her name is Kathy, and I said, and I'll use myself. I said, now I've had what some people would say would claim to be just horrible experiences, neglect as a child, and divorces and all these kinds of things, and oh, you poor thing, and that sort of thing. I said, however, I hold it now. I haven't always, but I hold all of those things of, yes, I was left alone with my brother and my sister to help raise. But I said, Kathy, I am resourceful. I am creative about all of these things that can be held as horrible things that happened to me along my journey. I now see as wonderful things that have provided me with these gifts that I can't even what I was saying to her at first, I was saying that it made me strong. All of that made me strong. That was the first thing I said. I am an extremely strong woman, not in physicality, but emotionally, and being able to pick up and move on to the next thing. And then I said, and having to do for, figure out things on my own has made me resourceful. And so I said, I can hold it that, yes, I was left alone and oh, poor me. But now, and I used to hold it like that. And I said, but now I see it in a whole different light. And so because we were talking about the perspectives and perceptions of things, right? And so, and I don't even know at this point where I was going with that, but for some reason it felt important to share with you guys that was that kind of what we were talking about. Is that why I felt led to go there, or was that for some other reason that I don't even know?
I think there's probably some other reason. No, it's not quite where we're going to go, but it is very cool illustration of your training. All of that, and not only for you, but everybody else, that was part of their training in the linear sense for honing their innate skills and a whole bunch of other things for these moments, for you being on this planet as we all create this, because we create this. So Yeah, that's very cool. And, you know, someday maybe we'll play more with training and all that kind of stuff, but that's a fairly big topic. And actually,
I don't know why I felt like that was part of that. That's so wild. Okay, so moving on.
Well, I mean, yeah, again, it's all perspective. It could be part of it. What we were talking about, what I was mentioning, was kind of I refer to it as an accent aigu on the bananas, strawberries, and pizza in my eye. Oh my! That, and I said we might play with the negative side of it, not because it doesn't apply to the positive side. You know, meaning how we're holding something, positive or negative. So there you go. You gave that. But for some reason, actually, and we all know the reasons, we tend to pay attention to the negative, to the downside more, and that's part of the programming. That's part of the limiting. It keeps us ingrained in the small. But what I was nudged was that right now a lot of things, and Lisa, you gave voice to some of them in the last video that we just did, but a lot of things are coming up for a lot of people. And actually you were mentioning it in your whole conversation at lunch was all about that. And so there can be, the perspective is, you know, whether you're conscious of what's going on or not. If you're conscious like Lisa, you know, I don't want to go through this, it's painful and so on and so forth, I want to choose differently. And some people who have no idea what's going on, they just think the world's going to hell in a handbasket and whoa, what a train wreck. And, you know, again, that's a perfectly valid perspective. There are many others, but yes. But kind of the accent aigu on that is that, you know, the yippee, they're all, when you focus on something that is bad or hard or whatever, you know, the falling apart, however you want to hold it as a moniker, right, for that. It's actually a moment for celebration, because what you are showing you is that this problem, I'm going to use problem just as a placeholder. So this problem that's coming up for you is you putting it outside of you to look at, to integrate and dematerialize, you know, the hard edges of it, integrate all of it, and then expand beyond it. So it's the orange juice that we showed in the last video, you know, pouring out of the jar. That's okay, this problem, there goes a stream of problem, there's a problem. And the reason that it's a place to celebrate is because in that moment of celebration, you actually go a quantum jump into integration. You also go a quantum jump into holding, not healing, because healing is a linear thing and it really doesn't exist, especially if you're coming out of the duality and separation mode. So when you do that, the reason that is because you have put it outside of you for it to come right into your face. And when you can hold it as a celebration, not only is that a tool for moving through it very quickly in integration, it's also, as we talked about in the last video, it's where now you can start to glimpse that bilocational consciousness, right? Because it's not a problem, it's actually a fabulous tool, right? The other thing is that by holding it that way, or by playing with holding it that way, if you can't fully immerse yourself in that yet, it lightens it dramatically. It takes the teeth and the gnashing and the drool and the spit and, you know, this wild monster that's, you know, the problem away, because now you can see it as it's your way to step through it into the next expansive thing. It's almost like you might notice it, well, it's just a coat. I'm just going to take that coat off and put it down. It's no big deal. I'm just taking the coat off. So defangs it seems to be a really good way to describe it. And it also releases our attachment to its fangness. You know, because it really hurts, or it's painful, or it's scary, or whatever it is. Because you're shining light not only on it, but through it. So I think right now, because there is so much going on, and there's really not a lot going on yet. So, again, different perspective. That it would be helpful if people could have at least an awareness and shine their own light in and through different, you know, different ways to hold things that really actually make them a really incredibly powerful and precise tool, I guess, for moving through these things.
Nice.
Yes, and my caveat for me, because it was the I had to be willing to look at all of that, those tools first, to see them, to be able to see them, you know, just to look at those tools to see how they could assist me.
Mm-hmm.
Because now what? Okay, so my mind is going like 5 different directions at once here, and I'm not used to that. So bear with me a minute. Everything that, because you know what you just said about it being out here, I have put it out here so that I can see it. And that relates to everything, not just that which is the bad things,
right,
the good things,
right,
everything. That's everything.
Yeah, for some reason we just pay more attention to the bad things, so that's why I started on that.
Well, yeah, well, we're sort of trained that way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes kind of ingrained.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's another portion of conditioning. Well, just like, you know, holding something as being horrific instead of viewing it as, wow, look what I gained from that. Because, I mean, there is those ways there, and both of those things are true. That's see the immediately previous video. Because yes, it was horrific, no doubt. No child should go through that kind of stuff. True. However, like I said, I personally wouldn't change any of it. I am damn resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of all kinds of stuff that a lot of folks don't even think about. Doesn't come into their purview whatsoever. And, you know, I'm very, I came by that quite honest. And I love that about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't trade it for the world. But had I not had that, then I don't know that I would be as resourceful as I am.
Mm-hmm.
So how we hold it doesn't, one does absolutely not negate the other. Right. As a matter of fact, for me personally, it's it makes it that much sweeter.
Well, yeah, because that's part of the holding, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I like that holding.
Yeah, me too.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Well, when you originally said that holding verse, I will say to you this, I thought about, Holding versus healing. What is the difference? And I can tell you that for me, healing is gives the connotation that I'm less than, or I'm wrong, or something's out of whack, or whatever, when that is not at all the case.
Right.
It's just at this moment of now, perhaps unbeknownst to me, or unintegrated, or, you know, I too, I really enjoy that holding. That's much more, again, it's how you hold it. So it could be that, yeah, there might be pieces missing on one hand. That could be a truth.
Mm-hmm.
But
From
on
the
the other hand, as source,
right,
from that perspective, right.
Well, not only
from
the
that
perspective that
but from
something's
that,
missing, but the perspective that looks and goes, oh, I'm missing something. You know, from the outside looking in and from examining it. So there's three perspectives there.
right. I'd be willing to bet there's more than that.
Well, yeah, I know, but we don't want to confuse everybody too much.
I'm sorry, I've stepped way outside of what I used to think on a lot of stuff. I'm not negating anything at this point. Are you kidding me? The trees in my backyard have told me their names. I'm ready to. I am open and see all possibilities.
Right.
That's the celebration.
Yeah. So if you think for a moment, you know, there you got this teeth gnashing problem that's going on, you know, and it makes it much more friendly if you realize that it's not an isolated thing. It's not you against whatever this problem is, and you're all alone. And it's something, well, as you said, Sheila, it's a beautiful gift that is being given so that you can hold yourself with that and then move through it. So to my mind and heart and my experiences, it actually put a lot of gas in my tank to go vroom, you know, and just go right through that problem and integrate. You know, sometimes a shirt flew out the window when I was going vroom into the problem, but you know, but you know, hey, but it did change my perspective on it.
Well, for a long time, a lot of that was my identity,
Right,
if you will.
right.
You know, and you know, until I began this portion of my journey or my path, that identity gave me a reason for all these other limited portions of myself as to why I was so limited. And I feel like once I started, looking at some of that, you know, and realizing for myself that, well, wait a minute, hold up. I like who I am. And if any one of those steps and those experiences, you know, because you can't sit over here and say, well, I guess you can. I choose not to. I know that this physicality, this personality, all of what I am is in this moment of right this moment now, was formed through all of those experiences, every one of them. And if any one of them was out of place, I would not be the same being, if you will.
Absolutely. It's like if you were making a bronze casting, and you go to the whole process of pouring it and smelting and the ways that it's fired, and the ways, the different iterations that it goes through, changes the patina, changes the character of the whole thing. It doesn't make one better and one less if you change it. It just is different.
Right. So it's just different.
Yeah. And so that's, again, the other big thing, that's the holding perspective on this. If you say, well, yeah, that's great, but I don't want that, but you're a different being. And so the being that's come to this place to maybe one of your problems, the Fang thing to wrestle with, I don't want that, right? You would not be the same being to be at this moment to give yourself the gift of wrestling with that. If you didn't have that in the first place, you would be something totally different. So as you said, Sheila, there are actually, well, they're all magnificent because they're all you and they're all of a piece. And so if you start to shift and shave one off, integration is different than shifting and shaving something off or wishing it away, or and maybe that's one thing that can be helped to be a crystallized nugget. Because there's an honoring in the integration. And when you want to shift or shave it off or make it never have been, there's a dishonoring in that. And you can't get to holding from dishonor.
Mm-mm. Well, no, yeah, exactly. Going back to your metaphor of the bronze statue, any one of those things makes it a different thing altogether. I don't know if this actually goes with this, but for me, actually, sitting with and coming to the realization of some of these things, and other experiences that have shaped the person that I am now, the being that I am in this moment of now, and also in this moment of now, knowing that I am eternal. Well, those things weren't all that bad. I mean, as experiences go. So it's I don't know.
Anything I survive is not. Hey, I made it.
Well, since you're eternal, that means everything because you survive it all. So,
right. It's all the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Right.
It's all small stuff.
And Sheila, you bring up a really great point that goes with what I was saying of that celebration moment. When you're looking at this problem, the fanged beast problem, right? Where you say, well, since I'm eternal, right? So anything that's here is not that big a deal. Okay, so flip it around to the perspective when you are your creator, kick-ass creator beingness, right? And you're creating, playing with, envisioning, being inspired by, cooking up, you can use all sorts of phrases that you want for them. What would be something that would be fun for me to play with and experience that would take me, to another level, another crescendo, another whole 52 million colors of crayons in my crayon box? Oh, right, this Fang beast here, man, that would be great. And that's how we look at it. That is how we look at it. So when we were all playing with, around the campfire of doing this, these moments that we're doing and bringing this forward and bringing us, you could say, back from the brink. That would certainly be one perspective. You could say, turning all of our energetic beings around in the shifting of our trajectory, to go as far as we could from source back, in that direction, plus more expansion from there. It was so delicious because not only did we know and play with and envision and, light those rockets of desires for that, whatever at that moment, and which is different now because we've created from then, right? But we held that as this was something for all, which would shift all. And here you've got, as we talked about in the last video, you've got the all and the singularity, right? And for each singularity, for each sovereign being, soul, again, however you want to hold that, this was, a climb to Mount Everest of our own singularity-ness, the way we designed it. And so rich and so exciting and so anticipated. Because when we're whole and looking at this, from the broader perspective, there is no Fang beast. There's just the potentiality to go through these experiences and navigate them and play with them and tone them and tune them. And as we step through that, we are a different being. So that's how it's always kind of been. But now, in these moments, we've kicked it up not only a notch and another notch and a bam, right? We're really doing it because we're doing it for this singularity and that singularity, right? And for all. And we're bringing it in to take those on this planet just as one isolated example, because there's, infinity's more worth in the source's multiverses. We're doing it so that we're having the Stargate embodiment, the whole beingness embodiment, the whole physical body embodiment, which brings all of us, so all of our other parts, all of our other aspects that are of this soul, our higher being, higher selves, all of those are all imploding. So that means all the other myriad of us that was multidimensional and in different dimensions, in different physical and non-physicals, right? However just giving little placeholders for the scope of that, which is, pretty big. Are all coming in. Mm-hmm. So there aren't any others of us out there because it all comes into this one being. And it means that then we can still play, create, experience, and so forth from our multidimensionality, from the inside out, all of those other parts of us, but we do it from this physical embodiment. And because we've done all that, because we have hold that, we have, and this is a whole nother conversation, but we have made that transformation that we don't die. We have released that. We have transcended that. We have transformed the need for that, because we're not in that. Well, we've given up that capacity. So that, all of what we just said, colors it a little bit differently. That Fang beast that's, been a problem and a pain in your ass or whatever it is. Yeah, I'd say it's a different way to hold it as a perspective, is that it's a celebration point, because it's, bring me more. Because, and as you do that, and again, think of anything, if you're resisting something, it's always harder. There's more friction. And if you say,
Right.
okay, well, this is a little bumpy ride, but I'm going to strap in and do it. It's still, but your perception of it, so your flow of it, so your pushing against of it changes everything. The experience, the whole thing. And not only does it make it easier and more flow, but my sense of it, my knowing of it, and my direct experience of doing it in so many ways myself, up levels the whole game for this particular being. And that holds true for all the other beings that are doing their own thing. Because in that shift of perspective, in that shift of holding it and beholding what we're then creating, it's a whole new flower. We've kicked it up another notch. And then some.
Well, and isn't that reason to celebrate? How beautiful.
Well, it sure makes the medicine, quote unquote, of the Fang beast go down a little easier.
Yeah, yes, it does.
Well, I love this conversation. Thank you.
Yes, me too.
There's been a lot of holing, I think, going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like that term. Thank you, BZ. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask myself sometimes, when I'm fighting with the teeth and the claws, what is Source's perspective? And that's usually a holding perspective. Yes.
Well, that's
Definitely.
awesome.
Yeah, definitely one of celebration for sure. For the.
Well, you bring up a very good point there, though, Lisa, that until we start when those kinds of things, those beasties with the fangs come up, if we don't ask any questions in regards to them, we just, and I have friends who, whenever they have issues, they just kind of sort of spiral out of, instead of, oh, wait a minute, hold up.
Right.
What's all that about? Let's take a look at that for a second, shall we? No, it just it goes into an entire just a spiraling, and not in an upward fashion. I mean, directionally speaking, you can spiral yourself right into celebration, or you can spiral yourself right into a really bad mood. And, again, perceptions and perspectives and how you hold it. And that, too, was part of our conversation today. And I know for myself, when I first began asking myself questions, oh, hey, wait a minute, what's that about? It almost, an awful lot of my fanged beasties seem to stem from that idea that I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not bright enough. I'm not whatever enough. It doesn't matter. I'm not enough. Or I am somehow less than, or whatever. You know, it's just not enough or whatever. And, you know, some of that comes from this, that illusion of separation, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
For me, anyway, when I really got down to it, it was, you know, because, and especially over this past year, of course, when when I first became separated, I found myself really one day here, and just, I actually, it came right out of me. Why does everybody leave? And well, that's, you know, I started looking at that. Wait a minute, that's abandonment and issues, right? And which really went at the very core goes down to separation. And well, but see, that's an illusion. And so, I mean, now I'm making it sound like it was really, really easy and really, really fast.
Piece of cake.
Not so much.
Snap.
Yeah. Don't be fooled. Not at all. But yeah, I mean, so for me at least, almost it would seem that as I've dug into because each one of those fanged beasties has layers to it as well.
Oh yeah.
And for me anyway, it has. And I'll say, okay, well, there's this. Well, then there's a little layer that's underneath that of this other thing that has to do with that fanged beastie. But it would seem like, for me, at the very bottom level, the root, if you will, stems back to separation, or abandonment, which also gives the feeling of not good enough, mm-hmm. for whatever the reason.
Well, and
we are.
Yeah, it gives you, it's actually a way to give yourself license to be small again, or more small, smaller. Celebrate your smallness. Swim in the smallness.
Right.
You know, and that's the
I have swum and
that. Sorry, everybody's fanged beasts. You know, it's kind of ironic when, again, it's part of the smallness and kind of compounding that illusion of smallness, where there's a propensity for comparing fanged beasts. Well, yeah, but my fanged beasts were, you know, I mean, I had the most horrific this, that, and the other. Well, here's the thing. For that particular being, that particular fanged beast was one drooling, snarling, spitting ass fanged beast. And because it was theirs and they were in it, and the same feelings of can't get out, trapped, not enough, whatever those, you know, different angles to the fanged beast are just as enormous as someone else's fanged beast that you may say, well, yeah, but this is really a fanged beast and that's just like a puppy dog thing, kind of thing. But isn't it interesting and ironic that again is part of the being small? So it gives us, not only does it give us license to perpetuate our own illusion of smallness, but we can beat somebody else over the head with a club because no, their smallness really isn't small enough. We got, and so again, this is where the playing comes in. This is where the laughter comes in, because hey, I mean, if you're going to be dancing with Fang Beast, you might as well have fun doing it and laugh, because, you're going to have bites and this and that and, puncture wounds and slime and spit all over you. My take is you might as well have fun while, you're not liking what you're doing. And that actually is because it raises your vibration and expands your frequency. So it takes you out of it faster and faster and faster. It lets you see that it's not a Fang Beast at all. It's an amazing companion that's walking with you through this part of your journey that you set up to do this. And that perspective, that dual perspective, see previous video, does not diminish one speck, one iota, one Mount Everest worth of the Fang Beastiness of that from the lineage.
No, that's right. It doesn't.
It doesn't make
it sure does not.
Or the climb or anything else any less magnificent to travel through that. But it also doesn't give license to the smallness either. That bigger perspective. And you'll see an awful lot of people.
Well, I did an awful lot of.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I did an awful lot of fighting for my smallness for a long, long time. And actually, just the other day, it was, I'm gonna put a link in the show more section of this video to a song. I sent it to you, Basie. This Is Me. I have to say that did more for me in realizing why I have spent so much time playing small. Mm-hmm. Lisa has said about me that I have huge energy. I never thought about it that way. But I think that I've been afraid of just how powerful I am. Mm-hmm. And I have done everything in my power to keep myself small. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I heard that song and I really looked into why it affected me the way it did, mm-hmm. that I had a glimpse of just exactly who I am and my trajectory for myself and for all of us. And it was really eye-opening for me. It was eye-opening and freeing and scary all at the same time. This video. How can all of those things be true? But it was and is. And I think that on some level, all of us, when we feel into that, will find that that is a big possibility of what's going on here. Mm-hmm. Because we are creators. I mean, that's just it. I so clearly see that now. There's no getting around that.
No, you just have to get over
it. No, that's right. But the implications for me anyway, the implications of what that really means, of what that really truly means, are huge. Standing on the edge of forever again, ladies.
And that song, It's Me, could really be an anthem for celebrating the Fang Beast.
Yes, yes.
It is.
Absolutely.
Literally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, to give it its due, I will say that it is a song that was part of a movie called The Greatest Showman, that came out, I guess, in February. And my sister had rented it and wanted to share it with us. And I'm ever so grateful
thank you for that.
to her for that, my sister Teresa. And she had sent that video to me because I told her we were kind of busy and I couldn't see the movie right away. She said, "Oh, but you have to see this right now." And I mean, of course, the waterworks started immediately, but it's just, I mean, the most, and of course, I had to see the lyrics to it, and it's just a very awesome. Yeah, it's an anthem for a celebration of that. Yes, absolutely.
Well, and it's so apropos that the link you sent wasn't it was the story behind that, and the first time that was actually, performed for the Catholic. So that goes to it, and then actually her. Well, she's not the lead, but I can't think of his name.
But in that song, she is.
Yes, yes. But the story when he sings his song and of when he goes through his piece, again, another anthem for a lot of Western.
I know.
But why he purportedly couldn't sing it, and then it's rising up within him and he can't not sing. Anyway, so maybe put that link in. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I will. And yes, and yeah, BZ's referring to a second video that was shared that where Hugh Jackman was not supposed to sing because he'd had surgery, but he couldn't help himself. He had to. And I mean, we are putting things, we were talking about this before, that putting things out here for us to see. And we are putting those Fang beasties out here for us to see, true enough. But we are also putting some really,
really cool stuff. Yeah.
Things.
Beautiful
cool things out there. Yes, beautiful things that are pointing out the wondrous portions of what we're doing here. And that's why I say, I have said this several times recently, that all is metaphor for what we are doing right now. Everywhere I look, everything I see as metaphor for what is going on right here inside of my own being. And it is the most cool thing. I've had a couple of people say, "What do you mean by that?" And I'm at a loss because it's just it feels like a quantum thing. I can't hardly even try to explain it. But
I know what you mean.
Well, you can use metaphors to explain it, so that's helpful, because what's a metaphor? It's like this, right? Kind of paints a word picture that is like that. But all of these things, being quantum is an inside job. It's who you are. And so from your linear ingrained platform and perspective, you know, like if you were a camera and you're on your tripod, that's your tripod is kind of glued in that. And you're the only one who can unbolt it from the floor. You're the only one who can put the 360-degree, you know, swivel so that now your lens on your camera with your perspective can get all of the angles and can zoom in and out and turn all these different ways. Only each one of us can do that. Yes, we can play and co-create and support and partner. We're not eating the cat. Just say. We can.
That is a hard and fast rule.
Yeah, it really is. And no, that's not Keegan. So anyways, we are we are the ones who do all of this or choose not to do all of this. And it really, you know, it really is, it's worth figuring out or letting yourself or giving yourself permission, or however you hold it or need to decode it that way, to play with this, because it is so amazing. I mean, that's just a pale word. It's so rich and colorful and delicious and fantastically orgasmic that each moment, it doesn't even each day, each moment is something new and something rich and something diverse, and you walk through and experiencing, so you can walk through and experience the job and the linear and the I have to's and blah 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 at the same time that you're experiencing these other things. And that actually makes the blah, blah, blah kind of fun and kind of cool, because you can actually see it for what it is. And yes, you're in and doing and being the blah, blah, blah for the sliver of you that's still in the linear la, la, la stuff. But you don't need to miss anything. You don't need to hold back. You don't need to push all this other stuff away, because it is so, it's gorgeous. In the most expansive way that I'll be held.
I'm going to put a link to, I think I better start writing down a few of these links.
Yeah, please. As we hit the end button and forget.
Yeah, I know, right?
What did we say?
But this is also bringing to mind for me, a piece that was on the IUV this week from Nicholas, A Day in the Life of a Kick-Ass Creator.
I was thinking of him and his mini letters the whole time BZ was speaking.
I know.
Because he just does it so deliciously. Yeah, it's really fun.
Yes, he does. So I'm going to be putting a link to that as well for anyone that has not seen that.
And I love you, Nicholas, but I'm going to out you a little for a minute. Nicholas, and I connected a while back. He was on one of the, wasn't a roundtable call. It was the next thing. I think it might have been one of the PPC, the CCC kind of meets and chats, or no, I think it was one of the solstice in December or something. And he wrote me after, he said, you know, I loved the call. The energy was great. I wanted to play, but I wasn't sure what to say or how to say it. And I said, well, you know, so let's just play. And from there, he's definitely figured out how to say and be and come out, which is, yeah, so cool. So, hey, Nicholas.
Yeah, totally awesome. So, yes, Nicholas, thank you, Nicholas.
Yes, I have absolutely adored everything that Nicholas has written, and I've read everything that he's written and sent it to you and shared to you. And just to be fair, Nicholas has also written to me And I love that, and I love the way he writes and looks at things. So thank you, Nicholas. I hope you don't mind us.
Yeah.
outing you.
Nah, he's a.
But it's already out. It's on the IUB. Sorry.
He's a current Big Apple, and he tells me frequently, you can't take the apple out of the girl. So, referring to the NYC part.
Right. I gotcha. I gotcha. Well, I just adored that piece that I'm going to link here, and so very appreciative of his sharing, and so
Cool.
wow. I also want to take a moment to thank the two of you for all that you have shared with me through these conversations, because I mean, I was sharing again with back to my lunch today with my friend, how much fun this is. And even when I'm boohooing in the bedroom, or whatever, looking at something, it's so much fun, and it's so exciting. And when I first started conversating with the two of you in particular, and BZ, you would say things that it's so delicious and orgasmic and all that. I was like, I'll have some of that. But I so get it.
But now that you've had some of that, it's like, yes, I'll take thirds, fourths, fifths.
Yes, please.
Oh, forget, just bring the whole
You're right. Keep it coming.
Exactly correct. And so I pay homage to myself, as well as I do now hold that I did call it forth myself as well. But and I love the way Lisa talks about it. An invitation has been issued, and whether or not there's reciprocal but so this has just been, I am dizzy AF.
Okay, well, let's close this energetic envelope here. All the usual things in all usual places, and Sheila's going to dizzy over here.
Till next time.